So you left America and went to UK?
Yeah. So we sold all the tools.
How did that conversation go down with your business partner? Because
he was in the same situation.
Oh, really?
His missus was there, pregnant, and she was the same. She was like, I'm not doing this. Because my wife and his loved the UK. They were there longer than they wanted to be because we always planned to come back, but it went so well. We were like, no, we'll stay. We'll 100% stay because it's going well. And so we were kind of 7 or 8 years in at that point, like at that pivotal point of where now we can really progress business-wise. We can take this to crazy levels. This billionaire contact we've got, an investor, he can take this to worldwide. He can help us mass market it. But we just sat down like we are now, me and my business partner, and we just like, what's the point? Like, we can't risk our families because he comes from a similar background to me as well. And he was like, let's just go back to the UK. So we sold all the tools.
Mate, obviously that's a huge decision after 7 years of grafting and struggling, to be fair, in the initial stages.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, the incident is so massive. Like, it's such a huge incident. Like, how does that conversation go? Because, like, I can imagine it was a bit more than us just, you just sitting down and being like, yeah, we can't do this anymore. There must have been a bit more to it.
Yes, because obviously, you'd left all the bad things in England that drove you to America. You've got to America. You've made money. You're a success. You're on national TV. And it's like anybody who's ever doubted me before, years gone by, or family stuff or whatever, it's like, do you know what? I've proved you all wrong. I've worked my ass off, and this is where I've got to. And to kind of leave all of that with the thought of going back to the UK, because I never thought I was going back because we were doing well. And it was like the only reason we would go back is if the business didn't work, and it was working. So to have that conversation and to have to go back was pretty brutal because we couldn't do what we were doing and go back to the UK and do it because otherwise we'd have to face our old boss. And we didn't want to do that because we didn't want to cause any controversy. So
that must have been so deep.
It was bad. And we sent the girls back. So our wives went back to England while we spent the next 6 weeks selling every tool we had, tying up all the deals that we did. Because we obviously had clients that still wanted their gazebos and they paid a deposit. And it was like, we're not going to screw anybody. We're not going to run off with their money. So we carried on going, carried on manufacturing. And I remember doing the last gazebo we did. It was the first install after the shooting where my business partner Simon was on the roof, and there was like these cedar shingles, like the wooden tiles. And he was on there with a pin gun, like nailing them in, like bang, 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 dropped straight down to the floor. And I was like, I'm fucked. I'm like, this has messed me up. Like, this
trauma,
is really, really traumatic. And it has screwed me. And I was just like, said, yeah, we do need to go back. So
how did the investor take it? Because obviously he's put in 150 G's. There's been something that no one could have accounted for, which is fucking more than reasonable in terms of like your reason to leave.
Yeah.
But obviously at the same time, like probably a conflict of interest with him because he's like, I put this money in here.
You would think that, but he got to a point probably 6 months before that where he said, look, I don't even want my investment anymore and I don't want the money back. He was like, I've set you guys off, just run with it. And that's never happened with anybody he's ever invested in. And he was like, just love it. I just want you guys to just be successful. If you need any advice, call me. So kind of at that point, he wasn't even involved.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah. There's not many people like that. He's made a lot of money. He's got a lot of investments in a lot of businesses. So he knew it wasn't going to change his bank balance by being invested with us, because we were like a luxury gazebo company that if you sell a few $1 million worth of them a year, you probably net in 300-400 grand profit. By the time he gets his 12, like what is that to him?
Nothing,
30-40 grand. It's like, what's the point? He might as well just get on with it. So it was good with him, and it was sad for a lot of our clients and obviously our employees. It was brutal because we got this workshop, but we just couldn't do it. We couldn't do it mentally, and we'd made that decision that our family has to come first, which goes back to obviously where I came from my childhood. That is just important to look after my wife and kids. So we returned back to the UK.
And what was the plan when you got back?
No idea.
Have you got a bit of cash behind you at this point?
A little bit.
Yeah, enough to like tie you over.
Yeah.
For a few months. And
enough to, could rent a nice house for a little bit and find a job and be all right for a year. I knew I had a year worth of money, basically.
You always need that runway, don't you?
Yeah.
Like 6 to 12 months.
I think it's important because if a recession comes or if COVID-2 hits or something happens, it's always good to have a bit of a buffer. So we did have that, thankfully.
Did your friend come back as well, obviously? So
yeah.
Was there Were you both going to go into business together when you come back, or was that sort of the end of that road?
It's the end of the road.
Was there a conversation where you both had where it was like, we can't work together anymore, or?
Yeah, it was just like, and he moved back to Northampton and I moved to Oxfordshire, like near here. So
Why Oxfordshire? Just out of...
So my wife's mum is from Berkshire. So I wanted to be close enough, but not too close to the mother-in-law. So it's kind of like,
That's fair.
yeah, but she's lovely. I've got a lot of time for her. She's a lovely lady, but it was kind of like, don't want to go back to Devon and Cornwall because obviously my mum's there, my dad's there. I've gone away. I've done all of this. I don't need to go back to that again. So it was kind of like a new start somewhere in the centre of England, not necessarily London because I don't really like the city too much. I'm not really a city person. Obviously, like you guys like being coastal. It's kind of like, I don't really like all the city. It's good for a weekend or whatever, but not to live. So I was like, Oxfordshire countryside, that might be nice. Gives us a bit of time to kind of bring up the kids and figure out what I'm going to do. So it literally sat there on a computer. It was like, I don't even know what the website, Indeed, or what is it called? The job site?
Yeah, Indeed.
And I was like, fuck, I've not done this in
So
whatever.
you went to go get a job?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
wow.
shit, innit? Like,
like, what am I
after
supposed to
all
do?
that, to then just be like, I've got to go and get a job, like, and looking on Indeed. Where's your head at in that moment?
I was like, I've been on TV, multi-million-dollar company, celebrity clients, mega billionaire investor, to sat in a room, my wife downstairs with the kids downstairs.